Today's live is all about dealing with unexpected things inside our hypnosis sessions. We've all had those sessions where we think, okay, this seems like it's going to be a very straightforward session. It looks like the client symptom or presenting problem is something that I've dealt with. And then you go into the session and you're like, shit, nothing is working. My client is resistant or just isn't getting what I'm trying to say to them. And so I'm going to ask three questions. I'm going to answer three questions today with regards to the things that are commonly come up inside traditional hypnosis sessions, so that you can feel confident in working with any client. And so the first question that was asked is it really possible to work with the unconscious without trance techniques? And the short and very direct answer to that is absolutely yes. So in our trainings and even the whole social media world and personal development world out there truly believes that the only way for some people to actually access their unconscious is for everything to be quiet, still, and very relaxed, and that nothing ever is going on before we can access our unconscious, which is absolute bullshit, first off. And I'll prove it in a minute. But when we think about that, that is actually very disempowering because real life isn't sunshine and rainbows and relaxation, getting a massage, mani-pedi all the time, right? That's just not it. And second, we have unconscious processes going on every single minute and second of every single day. We know this, right? We were told that it's the iceberg, right? The unconscious is the underneath and it's running our life. And so because of that, if something is running in the background 98% of the time, of course we have the ability to access something that is always running without just relaxing or forcing a trance on our clients, because it's always happening, right? There's more than one way to lead to Rome. There's more than one road that leads to Rome, right? We can drive to Rome, we can go through a ferry to go to Rome, we can fly to Rome with like a regular plane, with a jet plane. There are so many ways that we can access the unconscious mind. And this is more empowering because if we get stuck in this mindset of, I have to be relaxed, I'm going to tell all my clients they're going to relax. What happens then if a client isn't able to relax? And this is where we get stuck as hypnotists, right? Even NLPers, like my client isn't relaxing. They're just very fidgety in when they're sitting. Like, so what, right? Inside our ACH trainings, the reason why hypnotherapists sign up for it is because they are finding that the regular techniques that are outdated aren't working, and they want to be able to help their clients using their unconscious mind with other ways that don't limit them. And so another thing that I really like to explain this is through active participation, right? So I'm going to ask you a few questions right now, and I want you to answer these questions. What was the street that you grew up in? What was the name of the street that you grew up in? Who was your first pet? And what was the model uh, of your very, very first car that you owned? So what did you just do there? I know these are like password security questions, so make sure you don't write that answer down. But those typical questions are, where did you have to go to retrieve the answer to that question? Are you always thinking about the street that you grew up in? Are you always thinking of the make and model of your first car, right? I forgot the other questions, but you're not always thinking about these things. So to answer those questions, you have to then go into your unconscious mind to retrieve that information, right? You have to go back into your long-term memory bank in order for you to retrieve the answers to those questions. And for some of the questions, it might just take you like an instant. Sometimes it'll take you 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Sometimes it'll take us a very long time to retrieve it. It doesn't matter. We're still going to retrieve it because the brain is a goal-oriented organ, And it also is a natural problem solver. And so if we ask our brains a question, it's going to find that answer, whether or not it takes it half a second to give us that information or a minute, days, weeks, months, years. It doesn't matter. It's working on that in the background, unconsciously processing because it's always running in the background, right? So I know that this was a very long-winded way to answer yes. There are more than one way, and we don't always have to access the unconscious mind through forcing our clients into a trance or telling them to close their eyes and relax their bodies, because first off, some clients are going to have a very hard time doing that. Very hypervigilant clients, whether they're aware of it or not, are going to have a hard time chillaxing. We've had those clients where they're just very difficult to relax. So instead of spending 20 minutes or half an hour, or I've heard of hypnotherapists spending an hour trying to relax clients. Why? So a waste of an hour, when in that hour you can just ask your clients questions about their issues and have them retrieve unconscious information in doing so. That's why hypnotherapists love the ACH method, because we don't waste time on shit like this. If we know that our client's not going to relax, cool. There are many other ways to help them retrieve unconscious information. And the main thing that we use is asking questions, because the client results that we have is only as good as our ability to ask questions. So, long story short, answer to that is absolutely yes, it is possible. Number two, do you have tips for my client who doesn't have any scenes when I attempt to do a regression? So this is so good. And I was trained in a method that definitely did have regression. Like that was like the main thing that we did inside that method. And so we were actually taught to have our clients regress to happier memories. That way they get used to retrieving memories. And some people would say, try a different technique and then do the regression. Now, let's talk about why that's not the best case scenario. When, even though it's very innocuous and could be beneficial for our clients to be like, hey, go back to 3 happy memories so you get used to the process, what are we doing there? Take a step back and look at the big picture. What are we doing there? We are forcing them to retrieve memories. But what if it's just not the way that their unconscious mind solves their problems? What if regression and going back to scenes is something that their unconscious mind is not willing to do, because it is in currently where they're at right now, it's in a complete self-protective mode, that they've repressed the memories. There's a reason why we repress memories, right? Because the unconscious mind is like, you cannot deal with this shit right now. We're going to repress all of these memories. And having our clients retrieve that, although can be beneficial for them, when we do it, when the unconscious mind is actually in self-protective mode and is resistant, that is when that client is not going to retrieve the memories, because the unconscious mind is going to put that wall up and say, we are not going through this territory right now. I'm trying to protect this client. And even though a lot of people talk about conscious resistance, and that's why they relax their clients to get the conscious mind out of the way. The conscious mind, getting the conscious mind out of the way is the easy job, right? That is the easy job. Getting the unconscious mind to open up, that is much, much harder. And this is what people don't talk about, right? People don't talk about the unconscious resistance, which is actually a lot more powerful and a lot more resistant than the actual conscious mind. And this can turn on, unconscious resistance can turn on if we force a client to go through a regression and look at scenes in their past, and their unconscious mind doesn't believe that it is safe to do so yet. So if you have a client that is resisting going to scenes, that is most likely what is happening when the unconscious mind is like, first of, or they just don't know what you're talking about. Or second, the unconscious mind is like, fuck no, I'm going back to that. I don't trust this person who is just reading me a script. That may be what the unconscious mind is doing. Unconscious resistance is a big thing and is not talked about. So what's the solution then? What is the solution for clients who don't have any scenes? No, I'm not going to tell you to go back to happy scenes because, again, we're trying to force a client into a place where they might not even benefit from, or it's just not how their brain works. It's just not how they need to be therapized at that moment, right? So if a client does, you're in a regression, and you're like, there's no scenes, it's blank. Have a conversation with the client instead and see how that goes. What needs to happen there is that the client's unconscious mind needs to be able to trust you as a practitioner. So one of the things as to why our clients don't go into a regression is maybe they just don't trust us. And that is completely normal. A trust, the unconscious mind trusting us is something that we actually do need to earn. And so when that happens, take a step back and just have a conversation with a client and just say, be nonchalant about it. Just be like, okay, no problem. And just ask about the different aspects of the problem that you have talked about inside your strategy call, if it was if it's your first session, and just be like, okay, so you talked about this and this as your problem. Let's just talk about that first. And then maybe eventually, and as soon as the rapport gets built and the unconscious mind, the client's unconscious mind has trusted you, then maybe they can do the regression. So it's really the fastest solution for you to actually help your clients with this is to focus on them instead of us forcing them into the technique that we were taught, because we were taught to count down and click, click, click. You're getting smaller, shorter, whatever the script is to regress. Instead of forcing them to do that, which might not work for them, focus your attention on the person in front of you. Very simple, but not that easy to do. So I hope that helped with that question. And the last question is, I have a client who is not visual and I'm having trouble getting them into hypnosis. Any tips? Another great question. And this answer is going to be very similar to what I said. Some people are not going to regress. Some people are not going to visualize. I am someone who doesn't visualize very well. And this shocks a lot of people, especially if you are someone who is very visual. It's kind of like, I don't personally, because I'm not visual, I'm very more kinesthetic and auditory. People are also very surprised when I can viscerally explain what is going on in my body because I'm kinesthetic. I don't understand why people can't, but at the same time, we are all different, right? We all express our unconscious information differently. We all express ourselves very differently. And so if a client cannot visualize, that's just not how their brain works. And that is fine. So when you notice that a client is not very visual, there are other ways as to, like I talked about earlier, there are other ways as to which they can express unconscious information. There's literally unlimited amounts of ways that they can express unconscious information, because the unconscious mind is unlimited, right? It's very creative. And inside our ACH sessions, we call these unconscious moments, which is the things underneath the words. It's not even about the words that our clients are saying. That's just a very, very small fraction of it. What is the bigger thing is the things that happen in between the words, right? The nonverbal aspects of communication. And this is exactly what we focus on inside the trainings. And, hypnotherapists are very, very much intrigued by this method because although it kind of makes sense to them when they see it, they know that they have not learned how to actually look at the in-betweens of the conversation, right? When we communicate with someone, we communicate via verbal and non-verbal cues, right? And what do you think is more powerful, the verbal or non-verbal things that we say? It's the non-verbal things that we say. And so again, these are called unconscious moments. So if your client isn't visual, how else are they expressing themselves? Right? Is it through feelings? Is it through metaphors and analogies? Is it through big picture concepts? Are they so conflicted, where they're like, logically, I know this, but this is actually what's happening internally. There are so many ways many ways that you can approach the situation. So if visual doesn't work, go another route, right? It can be as simple as that. And so when you're able to actually start noticing these unconscious processes, the things in between, the silence speaks volumes as well within our clients. How they're actually expressing themselves, learning how to do that is going to help you massively in your career as a hypnotherapist, because no one else talks into this, no one else teaches it, just the ACH world. And so again, to help you out here, if they're not visual, are they, let's make it simple. I already gave this example. Are they more kinesthetic or auditory, right? Can they feel things in their body? Are they talking about, I just feel fear? Can you go through that route, right? Can you go through a more of a somatic route with this client? And with the conflicts as well, putting their attention on the conflicts and saying, I know logically that I got to take action, but I just have all this fear. These two existing is the reason why they're stuck. So exploring that can get you towards more unconscious territory as well. And the thing is, with that question, I'm just rereading it, I'm having trouble getting them into hypnosis. This also ties back to the initial question that I answered, as to we're forcing people to go into hypnosis. And what happens if we are being told what to do? We resist more, right? Even though we know it's good for us, even though it's innocuous to just help someone relax. A lot of clients don't do well with that. A lot of clients who cannot visualize the stairs. A lot of clients cannot even, like, they don't understand how to go from 10 to 1. A lot of clients cannot understand a happy place, thinking of a happy place, right? Like, some people can't do that. And so when you're trying to get them into hypnosis, where if they're not kinesthetic, progressive muscle relaxation is going to be very, very hard for them too. So, but there are so many other ways that our clients can access their unconscious mind. It's just through asking questions and them answering it. And that's the most powerful, most direct way to do it. So learning how to do that, just asking them questions. It's going to be the same tip that I give you with regards to the client who can't regress. Just have a conversation with them, like just talk like a normal human being, no language patterns. If you've learned conversational hypnosis and you're about to be like, now let's go on the thing where the thing cannot be a thing anymore, and this thing is present in front of you, and this thing is now, like, whatever the language patterns are, that's not conversation, right? Like, that's not a real conversation. Like, a real conversation is like, hey, what's the problem? And the person in front of you, your client, is conversing as they would a normal human being, right? Let's humanize the hypnosis world right now and just be chill about it. And so the exact same thing, I would say. Just have a conversation with the client, put less pressure on yourself, because the more pressure we put on ourselves, the more resistant that client is going to be. And then just have a conversation, get to know the client. Don't have your own agenda. Don't be like, oh my God, person with a toxic relationship is in front of me. Let me help them hate their ex. And putting your own projections into the session is also not going to be a great thing. Forcing them into hypnosis when they cannot relax is counterproductive. And instead, have a conversation with them, get to know how they express themselves, and then your client results are going to be a lot faster. And so if this is, if getting faster client results is your goal, if making a difference is definitely your goal, and you want to get away from the rigid techniques, you want to be part of a community that is thinking outside the box, doing things completely different, and getting faster results than everyone else, and making bigger impact than everyone else, then definitely join the ACH program, which is always open for enrollment. But like with anything, it is a skill set. And so the faster you learn the skill set, the faster you will receive the skill set and the more impact you'll make at a faster time. Because if you start something today, imagine where you will be in 30 days, 90 days if you started today. So why wait on using a skill and learning a skill that you know is going to massively impact your clients' lives and also your own? So if you have any questions at all, let me know. I hope that this helped you to be more chill and just put less pressure on yourself and just have a conversation with your client, get to know your client, especially when unexpected things happen, because this is how you're truly going to transform your sessions moving forward and make the impact that you want to make. So let's make a massive impact together, one conversation at a time.